Okay. We'll now call the meeting to order and stand in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. And there are two people calling in, though.
Yes, this should. Councilmember Brescher.
Here.
Councilmember Coyle.
Here.
Councilmember Deal.
Here.
Councilmember Gomez.
Here.
Councilmember Joshi.
Present.
Councilmember Patil.
Here.
Councilmember Ship Freeman.
Present.
Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975 has been provided by an annual notice sent to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, the Sentinel News India Times on December 13, 2019, and posted in the main lobby municipal complex on that same date.
Thank you. Right, at this particular time, I'm giving you a public service announcement. If you come to the mic and speak, clean the mic off right after you finish speaking so the next person does not have to deal with your residue that's on the microphone. All right? At this time, we're adding a resolution. Resolution 569, 10-2020, Department of Planning and Engineering. This is awarding the emergency contract purchase orders of General Electric. Any comments? No. Okay, this is the work session. All right. Okay, review of the minutes from work session meeting of September 21st, 2020, and regular meeting September 23rd, 2020. All right, I've taken the combined meeting of September 9th off because we do not have it at this present time. Reports from all council committees, starting with Councilman Brescher.
None at this time, Council President.
Councilmember Coyle.
None, Council President.
Councilmember Deal.
None, Council President.
Councilmember Gomez.
None at this time, Council President.
Councilmember Joshi.
None at this time.
Councilmember Patil.
None at this time, Council President.
Thank you. Our points of light at this particular time is that we are having a Halloween costume contest. So therefore the following categories we are: the cutest, the scariest, the most original, and the family. And it will be on October 24th at 12 noon at Mini Beeville. And was speaking to people and they worry about COVID and stuff. You don't have to come. Only the people that would like to participate can participate, and we're with the guidelines. Also, with the annual, I guess we still call it trick-or-treating, we will be following the state guidelines. So if it's able to, unless Governor Murphy calls a shut-off at the last minute, at this particular time, it will go on. And if people are handing out Halloween stuff rather than leaving a bowl out to people, it would be good if, those little plastic bags, if you put your little treats in plastic bags and handed them with gloves on to the children that would come to your neighborhood. That would be a good idea. It would be safe and healthy for all of us. And at this present time, our election is coming along so close. We have an election going on here, which is the Board of Ed, which I wish was a little cleaner, a little better, that we would debate ideas instead of people. But who am I to say? People like negative stuff. So I'm trying my best to stay above it, because I do have a legacy of students that still follow me. So I would like things to be done clean and in order. And I would like people to debate policies rather than people. At this particular time, I would like our clerk to give you instructions on the upcoming election.
At this time, everyone should have received their mail-in ballots. If not, you can contact the county clerk's office if you didn't receive it yet. We also put in a second drop box at the North Edison Library, which is available 24/7, just like the drop box downstairs here at Town Hall. And there will be voting information centers open from October 19th to November 2nd. We'll just look at our website. We'll be posting that flyer tomorrow. I just received it today for anyone who has to get another ballot or any information on the election locally. And they also mailed out, instead of a sample ballot, you'll be getting a postcard that actually says the exact where the drop boxes are, because you can go anywhere in Middlesex County to drop your mail-in ballot in a drop box. And it also have on there the polling locations that will be open on Election Day. Please pay attention, everyone, to the district of where, if you want to come in person, that you need to go to the proper polling place to turn in your mail-in ballot if you choose to do that on Election Day. That's very important. So if you have any questions or concerns, you can always call our office. We're here from 8 in the morning to 4:30, and look at the updates on our website. Thank you.
Also, I want to remind everybody on October 21st, there's a meeting of the Committee of the Whole. And also, I'd like to let everyone know that on Hoey Lane is being milled and resurfaced. So therefore, if you're coming to the municipal building, I suggest you come on Municipal Boulevard to avoid the chaos that will probably be on Hoey Lane. Thank you. Now, I will read each department and ask for any comments or questions from the Business Administration, 7A and B. From the Department of Finance, 8A through F. From the Department of Health, 9A. From the Department of Law, 10A and B.
Council President?
Councilmember Brescher.
Yes, I'd just like to clarify. We have this block 922. And if I read it correctly, the township is going to negotiate a sales price, I guess, on that lot. But at the end of the day, it will only be one building lot?
Yeah, we're going to negotiate with an adjoining landowner, Councilman. The landowner contacted the mayor's office and said they'd be interested in buying the property. It's currently an undersized lot that the town has a requirement to maintain. The intent of the landowner, as I understood it from his email, was to create two subdividable lots. The initial reaction from the mayor, and we didn't need to come to council to hear that, would be that there would be opposition to a subdivided lot. So I advised the landowner that if we sold the property, it would be with a restriction that it could only be used as one lot. He still intends on expanding his house, but it would still just be one house on the lot and create a better home for him and his family. So there's increased ratables, no longer have to take care of something and make a resident happy. So it was a win-win-win.
All right, thank you.
Good, Councilman.
Council President, I would like to continue on the same topic. Through Council President, question to attorney. When this lot price will be negotiated, and I understand there will be restriction, but will there be a deed restriction so that if the land owner or the current house owner sells the property to a builder or developer, that restriction becomes a permanent restriction as a deed restriction? And
It would be it would be a deed restriction, Councilman. That's the idea, just to make sure that it's never used. We don't want someone buying the property and then flipping it. The restriction would run with the land, with the deed. So it would be in perpetuity.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome, Councilman Patil. From the Department of Planning and Engineering, 11A through E. Sorry, I added the extra one on there, A through E. Okay, no discussion on that at this present time. All right. From the Department of Public Works, 12A through H. All right, from the Chief of Fire, 13A. Yes, that's it. 13A from the Chief of Fire. Okay. From the Department of Water and Sewer, 14A and B. From the Department of Recreation, 15A. From the Chief of Police, 16A through C. From the Township Clerk, resolutions 17A through G. Number 18, from council member to the planning board, council member Joe Coyle.
Council President, the planning board had a meeting which was canceled, and that meeting will be next meeting is going to be October 18th.
Excuse me, what day did you say?
October 18th.
October 18th will be the next meeting.
And at that time, they will set a date for the 41 Glendale. If it has not been announced, it'll be announced and voted on that night,
Thank you.
which is a separate meeting, 41 Glendale.
Unfinished business and ordinance for further consideration and public hearing. Any comments or questions on an ordinance amending Township Code, Chapter 7? Right. Okay, discussion items. My discussion items are that I've been having a long talk with different people about the bends that are spread out spread out in certain communities throughout Edison. And with the COVID that is upon us, those bends were nothing but unsightly places with yellow, like criminal tape around them, because I don't know that dealing with COVID and as the time goes on, where those things will be viable with the state or any person else. So I'm saying, I'm discussing that. And I am also applauding Clara Barton for the beauty that it has. They really fixed up the neighborhood very nicely. And as I talked to Councilmember Coyle, he's going to spread that over Edison, but I would like for the Edison residents and everyone to take better care of our neighborhoods, because it's really disturbing to me to see masks and gloves and stuff thrown all over the place, that we're not keeping the place. I know, I just believe in all the neighborhoods should be beautiful in Edison. We should not have to leave Metuchen and then come to Edison and know it's Edison by the garbage that we see on the street. I'm just asking everyone to pitch in. If there's garbage or litter or anything in front of your house or anything, please take care of that. And, please have your stuff out at the proper time at recycling, because Edison goes above and beyond most other towns. You don't get other opportunities. They give you their 2 to 3 days. And after you give your stuff in, that's it. Edison goes above and beyond. Our our Department of Public Works is like the best people, the best of the best. They're the hardest workers ever. So I have a fit when we give them extra unnecessary work that we could take care of ourselves. I like to applaud them for all the work that they do, because in most towns I visit other towns, they don't get that much from their Department of Works people at all. All right, Councilmember Brescia?
I'd just like to thank our council president for bringing us back into our council chambers here for the meetings. And I see that everybody's social distance, so I think that's a good thing now. And I will echo the same thoughts you had about the bins that we have around the town. And also about the residents taking care of our own areas. I was talking to the business administrator. DPW did a fantastic job redoing one of our basketball courts. Totally gorgeous. When you looked around the perimeter, there were probably about 200 empty bottles. And I looked in the cans, and the cans were empty. So it wasn't that we didn't empty the cans and the bottles couldn't be placed there. It was just people that just left them on the side. And there were some young children that were there. They were playing, they had basketball. And, you know, we asked them if they wanted to see this throughout the rest of the town, and they said they did. And I'll be honest with you, we told them that they had to kind of make sure that they keep their parks looking nice. And those children actually went out there and picked up those bottles. So, you know, it's not that we can't do it. We can do it. It's just a matter of just saying something, you know, to the kids when they're out there playing. And I think they really do want the town to be a nicer place. But I was impressed by the children we had. I was impressed with the work the DPW did on those courts, and I'd like to see that expanded throughout the rest of our parks. That's it, Council President. Thank you.
Councilmember Coyle?
Thank you, Council President, for acknowledging the beautification. It's not, it's several people involved in that on the beautification committee, and that's Councilman Gomez and Councilman Patil, but also the administration's support and DPW and Parks that really make this come together collectively with the Environmental Commission and Councilman Deal. So it's a long way, but I think we've made a great start. The Claire Barton section is our only downtown, and I think it's been certainly an example of some new things that are happening. I look forward to working on the bottom town section. Was Gomez Park, now Joyce Ship Freeman Park.
Yes.
But anyway, we get into that later some other day, but some good things are happening. North Edison Park, Silver Lake, I want to thank the administration for adopting that exit ramp there. Build Northgrave was a big help at the county. So it's going to take time, but throughout 2021, we're planning to sit down with the administration and have a plan where each park will have some beautification. So thank you, Council President, for that support.
You're welcome. Councilmember Deal?
None at this time, Council President. Thank you.
Councilmember Gomez?
Yes, Council President, just wanted to take this moment to express our gratitude to all those who make this possible, creating the shields and taking all the precautions to keep us safe. On that note, I just want to remind the public and ask the public that we maintain the efforts that we've been doing for the last 6 months. I think everybody's health and safety is primary and most important out of anything else. And it's unfortunate that here in Edison, we've seen the cases where we were going from 0 to 5 in average on a daily basis. You're starting to go see higher now, averaging around 10 or higher. And feels a little bit like we're going backwards, but I think is really incumbent upon all of us to make sure that that doesn't happen. We don't want to go backwards. We want to go forward, but most importantly, we want to keep everybody safe. So I ask to please do not let your guard down. Keep on doing what we're supposed to be doing, not only protecting us, but protecting everybody else and those around us. So please keep that in mind. Do not let your guard down, and let's keep everybody healthy. Stay well, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Joshi?
Yes, Council President, first, I want to also echo the sentiments of my fellow colleagues. I appreciate us being back, and it also reminds you, you can't take for granted simple things, just seeing people in person. It's so refreshing to be back in this room right now. OEM, I thank everything that you've done throughout all the whole pandemic, as well as all of our first responders, including police, fire, even the health department when they were going out. It was, terrific effort. But like Councilman Gomez said, this effort, this collective effort of a community and all of us is fragile. And there's, as the governor said, our back is up against the wall on a second wave. Let's do our part and make sure that we're responsible, socially distance, and always wear a mask. There are two things that I wanted to bring up. The first being related to a topic that I have brought up numerous times with engineering and the roads. Carl, I know that we spoke earlier, but can you clarify, one, the process for utility companies and when they come in, when they rip up the roads, particularly the tower section right now? I know we spoke, but I want, if you could clarify it for the residents, because utilities tend to come in, they rip up the roads, and then for months, almost half a year sometimes, the residents are just left with no answers. They just ripped up the road, and now they have, it looks like you're going through a third world country.
Sure. Councilman, thanks for that question. The one item that has to deal with it is actually replacing the main that's being upgraded. So the actual, when you drive down the road, it's a long trench that runs along with the road. So that has to get taken care of. The pipe gets replaced, new one gets put in. We want that trench to settle for at least 3 months. This way, we don't have any settlement when a new road goes on top of it and get potholes. The other thing, and this is more COVID related, when they're putting in those new mains, the utility companies are updating their lateral lines, the connections into the house. If they can't get access to the house, they can't finish their job. So during the height of the pandemic, basically everything got shut down and nothing was getting done at that time. Lately, the utility companies have been allowed to go back into the homes and do the connections. That's what I've been told from the various utility companies. Now that that's getting taken care of, we're past that 90-day period that we want the trenches to settle. So we are looking at getting everything paved. The utility company is responsible for the paving on what they addressed. So we're looking at in the tower area, which was a water company, that's going to be happening right around the end of this month, beginning of November. And it's about a 2 to 3 week period for paving. And there's another section of town where PSE&G is doing something similar, and their timeframe is very similar as well. I don't have the final schedules, but once I get that, I'll pass that through administration, and we could share it with council.
Is this something that we can publicize online, like when the utility companies are going to come in, or projected timeline for it being done?
Sure, yeah. Once we get those schedules, we can upload it to the website. We can put it on the engineering page or EPW, one of those pages.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Second, I want to have a very honest conversation about technology in Edison Township. Frankly speaking, it's archaic, and it's so outdated. I want to share a story. 16 years ago, when I was an intern in Town Hall, one of the areas that I interned in, actually I interned in almost every department, but one of them was violations. And I remember when officers used to come in and they would hand us these handwritten tickets. And as an intern, I used to input them into this computer with a black screen, many years ago, and we would write in the code, and that's how the tickets would be processed. And it was all manual. It was literally a handwritten ticket. We would get it, we'd input it, and I remember how much time it would take up. That was 16 years ago. I just found out that that book that I used to use is still there. And that book is what we still use. Like, when it comes to the process of not just the police department or the fire department, but even with health officials, we need to get on a page where it's technology driven. And, officers, I know other municipalities have the ability to issue a ticket, or it prints out right on the spot, similar to health. But zoning, for example, our zoning department literally handwrites a ticket, and then they input it into a computer. The same person ends up having to input it into the computer. It's such a manual process that it takes up so much time. There's no efficiency behind the work because it's so time consuming. But we really need to look forward to a more technology-driven township in general, because the quality of the work that I think the employees would do would eventually become much better just because it's so efficient. And, you know, every department we can go through, whether it's health, violations, police, fire, these are all, I just don't see where we've progressed in terms of our technology related to this. So if we can step it up and start really looking up the bids and the process, that would be terrific for all of Edison Township.
Councilmember Patil.
Thank you, Council President. I have two things to ask. Through Council President, question to Maureen. But thank you for this emergency resolution for the Tingley Lane quiet zone repairs. I would like to know the ETA for that work because those residents are constantly not only complaining, but they are panicking because they had to wait till the council meeting to get something approved so the work start. Now, this is the first step in a process. We got the funds approved. So is there an ETA, like 2 days, 5 days, because this is an emergency situation?
There isn't, Council President. Or, is he talking? Yes. All right, you're answering that. Sorry.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Patil. The resolution's on for tonight for award of the emergency contract. The contractor should be out there with Conrail within the next couple days. And then from there, have everything taken care of. I don't have a schedule on how long it will take to get all the work completed, but we're working with the contractor. Once I have that schedule, I'll pass it along to administration and we'll go from there.
Thank you. My second question, continuing question on the same topic. Again, there was an email on what happened to that particular area defined as a quiet zone with the earlier mayor. If the situation continues, you know, say we resolve the problem, say by end of this week, and it happens another after 6 months, do we have any kind of a mitigation plan in place, or residents have to continue to suffer, to wait for some time to go through the red tape process before things can be taken care of?
So two things are in play that I'm aware of right now. One, we're working with purchasing to have an emergency contract put on call, similar to a traffic light. If a traffic light would get knocked out, we could just call the contractor in and they could get it done right away instead of having to go through a process of pulling in some pricing. So that's being worked on right now with purchasing to get that on there. And then the second thing is we're working with Federal Railroad, to implement different technologies that are more current than what has been put out there 10, 20 years ago when these rail crossings were last upgraded.
Thank you. My second question through Council President to Maureen. There are several emails on the Margate community, the community which is behind Target. Several emails, you know, there are too many follow-ups, there are videos that are shared. We know what the status of the situation, what township can do, what township cannot do, so we can work out with the residents.
Excuse me, he's talking about Margate, that's private property. He's want to know what type of emails, what can we do to help them out with their roads or something? I think he's
Correct.
asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Through the chair, Councilman, we have been working actually with the state of New Jersey as well as Middlesex County. Part of it was the ownership part. Our Public Works Department did a cleanup of some of the weeds and litter along that stretch. but the state of New Jersey it's actually part of the Veterans Administration, has taken ownership of that, and they'll be improving both the drainage ditch as well as doing the repairs to the sidewalk as well. I'll get an update for them, but we've corresponded as recently as the latter part of this past week.
Okay, and thank you, Jay Elliott, for following up on that. But again, do we know ETA on that, how soon they can do? Because this is pending almost 6 months now.
No, I'll get you an update. I'll reach out to them tomorrow and try and get an update. Because part of the holdup was obviously was it the county, was it the state, was it the feds? It was a little bit of everybody. But we finally delineated who it is. We have everyone's kind of stepped up and said who owns what.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. And I echo the sentiment of all my council colleagues. I think we are one of the very few towns, the services are open to the residents. If you look at the neighboring town, which always we compare, like Woodbridge or the Franklin, they are open only by appointment. Whereas Edison Township, we are fully functional. So kudos to all the employees, mayor, administration, and all the departments, police, fire, DPW, a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Coyle?
Council President, I just first want to thank the microphones. Everything is just so crystal clear. Great job to Jim DeVico and the sound, and Eddie Colonia. Really nice. In the past, we had a complaint where Doug Way, to engineering for 3895 Park Avenue. If we can look into that again, I just don't know what the status is exactly. I believe an email was passed around for the final conclusion of what can and cannot be done. If I can just get that to send that to him. I know his email is in our thread, but he has not stopped complaining, and I want to make sure before I call him where we are. I also wanted to discuss, I know in the past we talked about the used car dealerships, and I know Councilman Brasher discussed the planning and approvals of pre-existing locations and what their exact life is of what their approval is. From what I understand, they're knocking down homes and expanding their used car dealership. This predominantly happens on the south end. I think I have about 6 used car dealerships in a location off of Woodbridge Ave and Route 1. I have some addresses here, and I've also forwarded some addresses to engineering in the past. But I have 1975 Woodbridge Avenue, 1835 Woodbridge Avenue, 1853 Woodbridge Avenue, 1821 Woodbridge Avenue. I know this may be a process to look into this and what historic photography we have and what their exact zoning was in the past, but clearly there are no buffer zones. They have more parking spaces than an approved dealership. They seem to park all the way to the curb line. One particular location on Woodbridge Ave, I think it's 1975 Woodbridge Avenue. It's one of the dealerships for used cars. I've been complaining about a dumpster that's been sitting on the corner for close to 3 years now, and it's still there. It's not sheltered in. It's not parked in a certain location. It's on the site triangle of an exit spot. I can show you on Google Maps right now. It's still there. And I haven't gotten results on it. And I don't want to have a discussion with zoning. I just want it handled, and I want a letter whether we can or cannot move it, because I have a lot of back and forth, and it's taken up council time where we have other complaints that are just as important or more important. So if we can come and do a drive-through in that area and or just take out these maps. Prior to your last engineer leaving, we were making some progress. I know he moved on, you have someone new, but this is no secret. I've been complaining about this area for a while, and it's kind of shameful because the south end, has some neglect that it's not our fault. It's just the enforcement of the zoning that's there and how the dealerships take advantage of us, and there's no history of investigation of these particular spots. If you look at them clearly, it's an absolute mess of cars parked everywhere, boats. It's a combination dealership, truck sales, U-Haul sales. And I just want to know what exactly is their approval? And if they've knocked down a home and expanded their dealership without an approval, we should be able to enforce that, because no different than other dealerships that come to the planning board, they have to go through a process. They have to make sure they have conditions met by our engineering and professionals, and they spend the money to do it right so that it has enhanced beautification to the community. I think all of them could survive well in this town, but if they do the right thing, it'd be acceptable to have them. And because of that, it just has a snowball of neglect through the whole neighborhood, and there's something that has to be done. It can't take this long to get them in line and find out what the process is. And if anybody has a chance to go down there, I'm more than welcome to go down there with you. I've been a part of that South End area for a while, Woodbridge Avenue, where Route 1 meets near the Edison Diner, and where Woodbridge Avenue goes into Highland Park. It's something I think by now we should know whether we can or cannot enforce what's going on there. I also like to share on Amboy Avenue, we have a location at 979 Amboy Avenue, and the complaint is only about 45 days old. But and again, it's a yes or no whether people can do this or not, but they had a pre-existing gas station with 2 islands and 4 pump stations, which gives you 8 pump fueling positions, which people understand what that is in the business. They clearly knocked down their pumps and expanded their place to a used car dealership. So I've been back and forth with zoning. It's clear that the cars are being brought in from Texas. They have dealership plates on them. They have no tags. And still, I complain about a clothing bin dumpster that's been in front of the place for 2.5 years. It's still there. I complained about garbage in front of the location. It's still there. So are we taking them to court? What's the process? Are we writing a ticket? I don't want to have a conversation with zoning. I just want to have an answer in email. We can't do something, we can do something, and what the history of the fine is, so we're just moving forward. Because I seem to be at a mute point, and again, it's council time, it's administrative time, and there are other complaints we have to get to. This can't be 3 years on some projects to get.
Pull the information, email everything to us. I took down all the notes, so I'll get all that answered.
And I don't want one single phone call. I don't want to get involved in it. I just want an answer.
It's answers.
It's just want an answer, and I'm happy to wait till January, because I've already waited 3 years to move a dumpster. I think I can wait 3 more months to get this in order. And if any council colleagues aren't aware of it, I'll be glad to show them. I know we're all aware of this complaint. It's just sad that a part of a community that could be on an uphill has this, eyesore in the middle of the block. And they just seem to take over the block, whether it's in front of their place, alongside their place. They just expand and have cars for sale all over. It's sad we can't get a grip on this, because you don't see it happening in North Edison. And if it did, I think, there'd be a bigger issue. But I hope we can get some answers here. Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome. Okay, can I get okay, now we're getting ready to start their regular meeting, all right? So can I have a motion to approve the work session meeting September 21st, 2020, and the regular meeting of September 23rd, 2020?
So moved. Bob Deal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, so may it be. What I've been getting calls about, and this goes with the beautification and everything, that the code enforcement is not levied out equally throughout the town, that certain people, there's certain neighborhoods they enforce codes in certain neighborhoods they don't. All right? Now, and also as bringing forward with technology and how we're moving forward, I would like the people to know that I have to have a budget that would allow me to move along and do the things that we need. What hurt us somewhat is that we use a lot of COVID money to lower our budget this year, in which we should have saved it for next year. Because as everybody knows, haven't seen anything from Washington DC anytime soon. So therefore, we're kind of tight. But in the event that we do move forward, because I know technology is very, we need it a whole lot, but we need the budget to go along with it. We can't get a whole bunch of goodies if we don't have the budget to go along with it. You know what I mean? I can't buy a $10 skirt with a dollar bill. It's just not going to happen. So, and also I just want our finances. We need to get our finances moving along, and everybody knows that we don't know where this is going to take us from this point on. We just hope and we pray that we get back on board, but I see some upticks, and I just want everyone at Edison to properly wear your mask, to properly social distance, so that we can all stay in good health and we can move right along. Okay? Thank you. We're here for unfinished business and ordinances for further consideration for public hearing for final adoption. Is the ordinance 2083, 2020.
An ordinance amending the Township Code 7, Section 7-25, to prohibit the vehicles over 4 tons from using certain roads within the township during designated times.
Open it up for the public. Open for the public. All right. No public discourse. All right.
Motion to close the public portion.
Second.
Close. Second.
just the resolution, not public comments, right?
No, this is
It was just the single ordinance. We haven't gotten public comments yet. We haven't gotten a resolution yet.
just on the particular ordinance she read.
Second.
Okay. Any comments from the council members? On these particular, streets here, is it any street designated specifically or is it just for the Edison Township as a whole?
No, it's a specific street. I think it's Glendale Avenue.
Is Glendale
It's
Avenue?
Silver Lake and Glendale. Yeah, I don't have the ordinance open in front of me, but yeah, I think it's specific. Is that what
Okay.
it says? Yeah, it's listed in the ordinance, yes.
Council President, actually, I do have a question. Are there existing businesses that will be impacted by this ordinance?
Well, as we, in your packet, I'd let everybody know that Department of Transportation did not allow the ordinance to go into effect in 2004 because of that issue. But it was, from what I've been hearing from various council people, including Councilman Coyle, that said it was a significant issue that the council wanted to take action on and wanted to address. It still has to go down to Department of Transportation. But 16 years have passed. We could see if there's, if they can approve it this time, and if they don't approve it, then we can review what other options we can pursue. But I mean, this has got to be the first step if that's, along that path. That's a lawyer's answer to a simple question, Councilman. I'm sorry. Yes, there may be businesses that might be impacted, but there may be other ways for them to approach their property. So that's an issue that needs to be addressed with Department of Transportation.
Shouldn't we package that together before we move forward?
You have to pass the ordinance before I can send it down to transportation. They're not gonna, like you often hear me say about, we're not gonna address hypotheticals. They're not gonna address a hypothetical either. If the ordinance isn't passed, then they won't address it. So we have to address it and then let them take their action, and then we can respond accordingly once, if they approve it, great, no issue. If they don't approve it, then, then we'll see what other options we may have.
would you advise a motion to table until we get more information on this?
No, Council President. We have all the information. All the information we have is what we have before us right now. There is a very real issue. Transportation did reject the ordinance 16 years ago. But I think the idea in moving the ordinance forward is, 16 years ago, let's see if things have changed, and let's see if DOT has a different reaction to the ordinance at this time. But unless the ordinance gets passed, we're going to be stuck in a do loop. I can't send it to them because it's not a passed ordinance, and we're not passing it because we don't know what they're going to say. So my suggestion is, if this is a policy initiative council wants to pursue, I would recommend approving the ordinance. I'll send it to Transit. I keep saying Transit, excuse me, DOT, and then we can go from there. And hopefully my concern is it will be moot, that that things have in fact changed 16 years later. And if not, then that allows us to pursue whether we want to challenge DOT's determination, or maybe they have a suggestion, or maybe there's some other solution. But I think we have to take this step first, if that is the policy initiative the council seeks to pursue.
All right, second question, are there businesses down there already?
I looked at the map today. There is, as everyone is well aware, Councilman Coyle referred to the special planning board hearing that will be held for there's a site plan application pending for a warehouse at the end of, I believe it's Silver Lake, and PSE&G has a facility down there right now. And the one caveat that everyone should be aware of, if there is a 3-ton truck, if there's a Amazon delivery truck that's in fact 3 tons, which is over the weight limit, making a delivery on the street to a residential property would be exempt as an operation of law. But the idea would be to restrict the truck traffic traveling down that street.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Deal.
the ordinance reads, using certain roads within the township during designated times. Have those times been identified?
Yeah, that's just lawyer language, Councilman. I think the way again, I don't have it open in front of me, but the clerk does, and I believe it says it's 24 hours. I think those certain times are 24 hours a day.
If we were rejected by DOT, would we be able to negotiate that 24 hours and perhaps establish designated times?
If that turns out to be a concern of DOT, and because I guess really my hope is that either they'll just approve it without any further discussion, or they will say this ordinance doesn't work, but we could consider it if you amend the time or something like that. So I don't know that the rejection last time wasn't based on time. The rejection last time was based on the comment or the question that Councilman Gomez just raised, that there is an existing business there, and it's zoned for a business that would seem to require a vehicle in excess of 4 tons to traverse Silver Lake.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember.
I have a question.
Joshi. Yes.
So what would be the timeline? 2 questions. One, what would be the timeline for Department of Transportation to get back to us on this? And 2, say they were to decide the same thing that they did 16 years ago. Is there any other downside to us passing this? Like, I don't want to get the residents' hope up, but I also recognize that 16 years ago they kicked this back.
Yeah, and that's why I raised it when I first circulated the ordinance. I wanted everyone to be aware that there was this, a question out there. I don't see a downside. This is not a situation where I think we are risking, like a lawsuit or some other material loss to the township. How quickly does a state agency in Trenton respond to a request, Councilman? Can we start with how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, and then I'll get to the harder questions.
Okay.
Hopefully not too long. It's not a very difficult question. So hopefully they'll be able to respond quickly, but quickly, could be, 1 to 2 months.
Council President, just one more question. Assuming that
Councilmember Gomez?
obviously we pass it, and look, I understand all the right reasons why we want to do this, and then going forward, and Department of Transportation approves it as proposed, then what do we do at that point with the existing business that's there now?
Yeah, that is, and I think maybe that's where Councilman Deal was going, that, could there be a negotiation? I think if DOT approves it, then I think the business owners there will certainly be approaching us to see how, to see how we can, do this without, causing them damage as to the operation of their properties. So, but I think that's a step. That's, we have to get past the DOT step before that occurs. But I think that's something we certainly have to keep in front of us, that there is, this could have an impact. And if it does, we're going to have to see what we can do to ameliorate that impact.
Yeah, correct. Look, at the end of the day, we don't want a dragged out fight over this. This is being done for good reasons. We want to make sure that we run into something that is going to be a balanced resolution in the end. So we just want to make sure that we keep that in front of us.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Also, if this were to get rejected by DOT, does that mean that we would be setting ourselves up for a precedent later on that, we can have another company also come in and it essentially validates more than 4-ton vehicles?
Yeah, no, I think it's already, it's as doing nothing, that you already have that validation.
Okay.
You already have that rejection from 2004. If we tried to just slap up a sign and ask Chief Bryan to have his department start enforcing that sign we put up, the officers would quickly say, Chief, we're not doing it because there's no legislation that supports it. So there's no good faith enforcement. So, yeah, so that validation, to the extent there is validation, it's already occurred.
Okay.
Council President, motion to approve?
It's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilmember Brescher,
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle,
Yes.
Councilmember Deal,
Yes,
Councilmember Gomez,
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi,
Yes.
Councilmember Patil,
Yes.
Council President Schiff Freeman.
Yes.
Council President, so I want to thank this council for approving this opportunity for the residents in that area and this sentiment from each council person. This is a challenge. If a new warehouse does come into that area, the traffic will be enormous for those residents there. And if the DOT does come to a conclusion for or against, it certainly puts this administration in a position that there may be an opportunity we find alternate egress and ingress to that area, which would be a huge help to the community in that area. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this winds up, but I think it's clearly a good start for this council. I want to thank everyone here for that support. Thank you.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Deal.
I think it's important that we continue to explore the options that we have in that area. I just heard from our council just say that it's 1 to 2 months for DOT to make a decision, perhaps, and I appreciate Mr. Northgrave not being specific because he knows that sometimes it could be longer. So if we wait around for a couple of months and then DOT says no, we've lost a couple of months to look at our options. I think we should, because we have spoken about options in the past few weeks, I think we need to aggressively explore those options, continue. So in the event that DOT says to us, we cannot do that, that we can't restrict these 4-ton vehicles, that we have another plan to go to, and we have another plan to go to rather quickly. Thank you, Council President.
Absolutely. We will be working on that. Councilmember Deal I heard a couple of people are working on that, looking behind the scenes, so that, like you said, so if we do get a no, we'll have an alternative to serve the people of that area so that they don't get disappointed with us helping them out.
And Council President,
Yes.
to our attorney, is it, or the administration, would it be necessary that we look into a study for that area, whether we should look at any side yards that would connect to Heller Park or any opportunities where we may have to use the power of eminent domain to create a 40-foot road path or paper road to connect through an alternate portion of Heller Park that would make the residents such, an ease compared coming down Silver Lake.
Yeah, I can tell you legal has already exhausted that review because I looked at the map today and I'm not sure I quite saw it, but that's why I'm a lawyer and not an engineer or a planner. I think it might be time well spent to have either the planner or the engineers take a look and see if there's something that, may be able to both, best utilize the property while at the same time not having impact on residential neighborhoods.
Council, would we have to, from this council, would we have to pass a resolution for a study?
No.
And to Maureen, would we have to do that, or?
Well, I think you could do that right at the planning board level, correct?
But we can do it internally. Yeah, we don't need, it doesn't need to go to the planning board. We can pick up the phone or pick up the email and ask Mr. O'Brien to have, him or someone on his staff or someone on the township staff take a look and see if there's alternatives we can identify.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Deal.
I want to support what Councilman Coyle just suggested, and what we just heard is feasible and doable. We should examine what we have there. Egress may be the best option in the event that the DOT rejects our proposal. So I am wholeheartedly suggesting and asking that we do what we can inside right now with the people we have, with our personnel, to examine what we can do, look at potential ingress and egress routes to that area without going down Silver Lake. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Deal, and thank
All
you,
right.
Council President. I know you also expressed the same interest, Council President, in a soft discussion we had, and I thank you for your leadership.
Mhm.
And I know you're looking into it as well. I hope this could be an order of business that is moved forward as of tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, new business, a public hearing set down.
An ordinance requires, unless waived, a requirement that new and modified developments include electric vehicle charging stations.
May I have a motion to introduce?
Council President,
Council Member Coyle?
I move this ordinance be passed on first reading and published according to further consideration and public hearing set down for Wednesday, October 28th.
Second?
Second, Councilman.
Councilmember Brescher,
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle,
Yes.
Councilmember Deal,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez,
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi,
Yes.
Councilmember Patil,
Yes.
Council President Schiff Freeman.
Yes.
Council President, I just want to thank several council people that engaged in discussion on this EV ordinance and the opportunity to have electric charging stations in new developments and large developments. And I want to thank Councilman Deal for his input from the Environmental Commission to put this ordinance forward. Thank you, Council President.
All right, thank you, welcome. Yeah, in ordinance, please read the ordinance of 2085, 2020.
An ordinance authorizing the private sale of Block 922, Lot 1A on the tax maps of the township, more commonly known as 248 McKinley Street in the township, and undersized land not needed for public use pursuant to NJSA 48:12-13.
Council President,
Yes.
I move this ordinance to be passed on first reading, published according to law for further consideration and public hearing set down for Wednesday, October 28th, 2020.
Second?
Councilmember Brescher,
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle,
Yes.
Councilmember Deal,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez,
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi,
Yes.
Councilmember Patil,
Yes.
Council President Ship
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes. Right now, I'd like to open public comment on the resolution, on the resolutions only. Public comment at this particular time.
Motion to close the public portion?
Oh,
Second.
I was gonna wait. I can go?
yeah, on the resolutions.
$16,000 for, oh, I didn't,
Resolution number.
my number? 560-10-2020. The last page where oral petitions are. The second one.
Okay. That's the least 8-month leave.
I can speak?
Yes,
All right,
yes, yes.
$16,000 for the Detective Bureau to have a multi-function copier. I mean, I don't know how much one of these things costs. That seems like a lot of money, you know, $16,000, and this is just an 8-month lease.
48 months,
48 month,
48.
yeah, 48-month lease. I mean,
4 years.
how much does one of these cost? Yeah, I know. You corrected. 48 months. How much do one of these cost?
I think it's around that price, and then after the 4 years, you can buy it for $1.
All right.
It's just paying it over time versus all at once.
Okay, can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close the public portion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, at the proposed resolutions, are there anyone would like to pull for a separate vote? If not, I like to give a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved?
Second?
Councilmember Brescher,
Yes.
Councilmember Coyle,
Yes.
Councilmember Deal,
Yes.
Councilmember Gomez,
Yes.
Councilmember Joshi,
Yes.
Councilmember Patil,
Yes.
Council President Ship Freeman.
Yes. Okay, now oral petitions and remarks. This is when you can speak on things pertaining to Edison, I hope. Okay, go ahead. Just state your name and your address. And did you clean that off when you left there?
I did not.
I'll clean it.
My bad.
All right.
I didn't touch it though.
No, but I have to make sure there's no kind of particle that you can around.
The bleach is going to turn it white.
Yes, it is.
Rich Sweeney, 313 Sutton's Lane. The reason thanks for hearing me today and welcome everybody back. Half of you wouldn't make it in Hollywood watching the Zoom. But anyway, the reason it brings me here tonight, there's a porta-john. These guys that are working on the gas lines in town, there's a porta-john parked maybe 50 feet from my house. And it's become a public bathroom, not just for the contractors, but where it is on the corner, I open my windows, I get urine smell in my house. You know, that's how close it is. And with Corona, you know, I just shouldn't have to put up with that.
Where's it
I
located,
mean,
sir?
I did, all due respect, I did talk to Jay Elliott and then inspector come out, but it's still there. But my problem is Prime is using it, FedEx is using it, UPS is using it. Citizens are parking their car going across the street and using this bathroom. I mean, if it's only for the contractors, I'd like to see it moved away from the corner. I mean, it's nasty. You know, I shouldn't have to look out my window and see Johnny on the spot. I had a problem. I had a problem once before. The recreation lady could tell you as well. But she moved them, you know? But the thing is, it's just not healthy. It's not a healthy thing.
Correct.
It's bad enough I got to put up with cat urine smell in the neighborhood, which Jay is familiar with as well. My quality of life on Sutton's Lane is going, you know, it's bad. The traffic, the helicopters, the airplanes, the small planes, the big planes, you know, it's really, really bad. And, you know, all we get in South Edison is warehouses. I understand taxes and all that, you know, but it's all we get in Edison. I can't wait for Joe to come to South Edison because Clara Bond looks pretty good.
He's coming.
But
Don't worry, he's
seriously,
coming.
I don't beg. I don't beg for nothing. I don't even make my dogs beg. Please get that off the corner. There's a watershed adjacent, fronts John Marshall School, which looks horrible as that Porta John. Park it back there so people passing, you know. I don't know what was the outcome, Jay. I really don't know.
What'd you say at John Marshall School? What was that, John Marshall School?
Yeah, it's on the corner of John Marshall School and Sutton's Lane.
Through the chair, it's on the corner of Cornell and Sutton's Lane.
Right.
We've been in touch with the contractor as well as the Porta John company. I'll follow up tomorrow to make sure they were supposed to have moved that for us. And part of the thing with the cats, we're also trying to get the cats to use it, by the way.
They did move it. They moved it off the curb to the other side of the street, but it's still the same distance. But the problem is, it's a public bathroom. There should, you know, these contractors, even if wherever you move it, after hours, they should put a lock on it.
Absolutely.
And they provide them. So we'll follow up again. I know that we spoke
here
with both
tonight,
parties.
On my way here tonight, 2 cars stopped. Just getting in my car. You know, I shouldn't have to smell urine just because I'm trying to save a little money on air conditioning.
So
Especially
Council
with the tax
President?
going up $138 a quarter. You know, which I don't have a problem paying the tax because Edison is a nice place.
Yeah.
But you know, it's nice seeing everybody. Everybody looks good.
Our
Joe,
health
you look like you
officials
were
gonna
down in
take care of
Florida, got some sun.
Dark.
And Mr. Councilman Deal, all due respect, watching you on Zoom, you look like you were riding back from Woodstock, but looking at you today, you clean up pretty well. You clean up pretty well, my friend. All due respect.
Thank you.
I have one more thing to ask about.
Yes.
This committee on a whole with finance, we've been through 2 committees on a whole. The first committee on a whole went nowhere. Mr. Gonzalez sued us. The second one with the post office, that's gone on for a year now. Now, how long is this one going to go on? And how much is it going to cost taxpayers? Because I don't want any more tax increase or I'm getting out of town as much as I love this town. Is this going to cost us a lot of money?
No, the committee of the whole, I believe that they will be having with the flyer, they will be having a meeting on November 5th. At that particular time, that'll be wrapped up, and the finance shouldn't take that long.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know,
sure the
'cause
attorney enjoys.
we only have a couple of pennies left, so it shouldn't take that long.
I'm sure the attorney enjoys a year of, you know.
That's, the committee of the whole has a separate counsel for them, so.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, an attorney. I'm not.
Oh, okay,
No,
I mean, as a
apologize.
profession, yeah, that's,
Apologize.
yeah,
But,
as a
you know,
profession,
Lawyers don't come free.
thank God.
But really, please, I'm begging again. I'm begging again. Please, get that thing off the corner.
I hear you, sir. I hear you because I'm
Because I know, and none of you want that smell or whatever in front of your house. I mean, the township is trying because I called Jay, the code enforcer came out, and then it's still there. But you know, it's got to go.
I hear you, Sweeney.
You know, I'm speaking for my neighbors too. You know, some of them are just too old to get here. I don't have enough room in my truck for the chairs. You know what I mean? But anyway, welcome back. Thank you.
Council President.
Yes, Councilmember Deal.
Thank you, Council President. The situation that Mr. Sweeney described is totally unacceptable. Totally. There's not a resident in town that should have to endure such a thing. we have to get on this tomorrow. That should be moved tomorrow. And then if it is moved, I would suggest that if Mr. Sweeney is saying that it's used by other groups other than what it was intended for, that perhaps we get with the company that has it and says, you need to empty it or clean it, or we can't have it smelling up the neighborhood. That is unacceptable. We cannot tolerate it. And this is something we need to do today. I thank Mr. Sweeney for bringing it forward. No resident in this town should have to endure that because we put it in a place or it was put in a place that it shouldn't have been put in, or that it's allowed to overflow or get to a point where it's stinking up the neighborhood. So please, Council President, I'm imploring, as Mr. Sweeney did, that we take action tomorrow. Thank you.
And also, he expressed the desire to have locks put on it if the site is using it, so they would have it locked at that particular time, so it would not be for, just a free for all for everybody just to keep coming by that particular area. So yes, so it's going to be taken care of, right, Mr. Elliott? Thank you.
I don't have that much to say. No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. I enjoyed your learning. So my name is Caitlin Duarte. I live at 8 Westminster Place. So thank you so much for passing that ordinance. I really.
Excuse me.
Yes.
They didn't quite get your address.
Sorry.
You can slow down a little bit with the mask on.
8 Westminster Place. And I'd just like to say thank you for passing the ordinance and even proposing it. I will say, and this isn't what I meant to talk about, but being here, I noticed a lot of you said, you want us to all be safe. We don't want to go backwards. Wear your mask all the time. But yet none of you are wearing your masks during the meeting. And I realize you have to speak. But inside, it's according to an executive order, you're supposed to wear your mask. So it's just concerning. I know this doesn't make me like super helpful with you guys, but it makes me very uncomfortable being here. And anyone who's older, I'm sure would feel the same or have health issues.
I'm older.
No way. So
I'm older.
I'm just, for me, I have a small child at home and I'd like to start attending these meetings and there's no Zoom option for me to speak out. So it just makes me slightly uncomfortable. But if you guys have something set in place that I don't know about, I would be glad to hear about it.
Yes.
Thank you. So and I think it was Executive Order 183 that requires everybody indoors to wear a mask. So, and I know the next part isn't going to help, but I would ask that you do a traffic study of Silver Lake, especially if this doesn't pass, just to see what the impact of all those extra trucks are going to be on that street, and see what's going to happen to the value of those homes, to the quality of the street, how often you're going to have to pave it to keep it up. That's what I would ask you guys to explore. I don't know if this is the right venue to put it out there, but if this doesn't pass, we need to know what it's actually going to be like for the residents and for the town to upkeep that street and the homes. So that's about it. So thank you so much, and I'm done.
Council President, I just want to acknowledge Kate and her husband came out to volunteer for the beautification program on Saturday. She came with her child. We put them all to work. I know it could have been child labor issues, but they did work. Thank you, Council President.
Yes, Yas Pandia.
Yash Pandya, 20 Arbor Circle. Good evening, everyone. It's very nice to see everyone here together in the council chambers. I'd like to echo a few things. I'd like to thank all of the councilwomen and men, as well as the council committee leadership, for keeping Edison safe on a day-to-day basis, despite the pandemic which has been going on. So I'd like to raise a concern also an opportunity with you all tonight. As you all may know already, with our Board of Education, we face overcrowding as one of the larger issues in Edison overall. And from my understanding and what I've seen, we have I believe it's an old Army barracks near our Kilmer DMV. I think they built a new apartment complex near there as well. I think that can be utilized for something better when it comes to academics or recreation. And I'd like to request, with all due respect, if we can take a step further in terms of possibly evaluating or assessing that property to see what we can do. And, you know, if we can have some kind of bid or quotation, whether we need to gut the whole place out or what improvement, land improvement, real estate improvement we can do, and possibly bring it for our education for our students moving forward. So I'd like to urge and humbly and respectfully request if all council members and committee team can take a step forward to seeing what we can do with this area possibly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony DeAmarin?
Council President, to the administration, do we still have control of that property?
You,
We do, is that
it
correct?
it was turned over to the Board of Ed at one time, but they declined to use it, so it's back in the possession of the township as recreation.
Okay, thank you, Council. Thank you, Council President.
Anthony, do I need my, keep it up. Anthony DeAmber, 15 Road X Circle. First of all, I'm happy everybody's back. It's a lot better than Zoom. I want to over the last couple months, I want to give a shout out to the first responders. I know the fire department has been pretty busy. You guys are doing an amazing job. So, and the police as well. So first responders, definitely. Question regarding, maybe the BA would know, we're right next to Topgolf, the LA Fitness, I think, is building over there. They basically stopped building there. Do we know? Well, whatever building was going to be there, it's just, they basically stopped over the last like 7 months.
We can look into it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure off the top of my head of that.
LA Fitness.
Yeah, I think it's LA Fitness, yeah. And, you know, one of the things I want to talk about is during these, we call it, I guess, campaign season, things get heated a lot. And I got to admit, I'm very disappointed by a lot of the back and forth that is, especially over social media, and a lot of the attacks that are taking place. But I have to say, like, there's been times where I hold our elected officials accountable, and I have my disagreements, and I have to remind myself every once in a while that people look to me, and I got to be careful and choose my words carefully, even though I have disagreements. And this past week, I've had my disagreements with a council member, Councilman Brescher, and we've had our disagreements before, but I thought about it, and as that was transpiring, I received many messages, and I hope, you know, I hope people are listening, because what ended up happening was we ended up dividing each other, and people got forced to take sides because maybe of something personal between him and I. And that's not the goal here. The goal is, I don't need the support. The support should be behind Councilman Brescher. He's our elected official, and it's not to divide us. And it's important that, you know, we watch ourselves here, because I got to admit, it's a lot of these attacks are not good, and it does the opposite what it's supposed to do. And from what I see, I don't see many people speaking up about it, and I feel like this is, if our elected leaders don't speak out about what goes on here, it gets worse. And so I'm going to lead by example too. And I could say this, you know, I put out stuff about taxes and spoke about that. I could tell you, Councilman Brescher did work hard on taxes. I interviewed him, and I know that the taxes were going to be about 10%, and he did promise to take it down to about 4%, and he got pretty close to that. So he does work hard, and you know, I don't want to mislead anybody, and I think it's important that we support our council people, even though we may have disagreements. There's a lot of work to do. And I'd rather see people encourage others. And if you don't have anything good to say about somebody, you shouldn't say it at all. So it's, I just want to see it stopped. And it's good to be back again. I don't know if that made sense, but it's,
Yes, it did.
it's been a long, it's been a very long couple months. And, you know, I'd rather see the town move forward. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. As you know, De'Amarin, I detest character assassination, and I speak about it at every time. And I feel like that if you cannot answer the question, your first resort should not be to assassinate someone's character. If you can't answer a question, or if you can't feel like you can put forth the question the proper way, it really, you know, it really, for me being in education all these years, and when I see grown-ups act in that manner, then I expect children that's 17, 18 years old, and I ask them, why are they acting in that manner? And I applaud you for coming up here and being a big man to come forth and say, this is what's going on, this is something we need to correct. Because a lot of people, they don't correct that action, they keep it going.
Right.
And I am terribly, terribly, my colleagues can tell you, I'm terribly disgusted when I see some of this stuff, some of the personal attacks. It just drives me crazy. I just look at it and I say, well, why don't you just answer the question? All right? If you not get your game together and you can't answer the question, then the first thing is not to do is to attack you.
Right.
You know, that's, I just want everybody to know that throughout Edison, because it's not a South Edison, it's not a North Edison. We're all in Edison together, all right? All of our attacks come to the same building. And when the tax come in to there, it doesn't say South Edison tax. It doesn't say North Edison tax. It just say the tax for Edison. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Council
Tony
President,
Pascal? Oh, excuse me.
and Council President, I am not aware of what may have happened on Facebook with Mr. De'Amarin or what he may witness, but I think the social media is a good platform to engage with your elected officials to problem solve. And I always look at it as an opportunity to empower people to be engaged into a path of politics or any government affairs or opportunities to solve problems. Sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. But I do see the people who do get engaged with me or other council people, we do solve problems. So the more I see on an ask basis, I do bring it to the administration, and several council people here do the same. And if people did more crowd reporting, this administration would get that done. I mean, I know we may not bat, 99 for 100, but I can say that the mayors and the administration does look into the problems that you bring to us. And if you bring it to us, sent from a council person, it does, take priority, and we do get on it, quickly. And I'm thankful to Maureen that the job she does to get on a problem happening in and around your community. It also puts us, on cue on what's happening in and around your neighborhood, because this town is 35 square miles. We have 7 council people and probably close to a half a dozen other elected officials you can reach out to besides us to solve problems. But I do think it has a unique platform, and I'm sorry what does happen, but it certainly does empower people to get involved in politics. Much different than when I get involved. And I think, Cheryl, back in the day when we were out here in the 90s, there was no social media. So it certainly is a unique opportunity. And I think Sam Joshi uses it more than anybody. He's on Instagram, he's on multiple platforms. So we hope it does help, and I'm sorry to see what is happening.
Thank you.
Tony DePasquale, 2 Pine Street. I have a question through the chair to the BA. What's happening with Stelton School? I mean, it seems like it went to the wayside. It was talked about for a while. The superintendent spoke about it for a while, and nothing's happened. Is there anything that's going to happen? How much longer do we need to wait?
Nothing
about
has
that?
happened, but that actually came up in a staff meeting today. We're going to start to look into it seriously.
Okay, what does that mean, look into it? I mean, we've
Look
been
to different
told,
uses
you
to
know,
you know,
For the schools district?
the school is not interested in it, so we're going to have to look elsewhere.
The school district has actually said they're not interested in it now? That's
Not
interesting.
anymore. I don't think it was a serious consideration, so we're going to go in a
Well, it was a
different
serious
direction.
consideration because the superintendent, when they had the bond referendum, basically said we were going to get Stelton School for kindergarten. So
Not at
that's
this
now
time.
changed from, okay, I'm going to have to double check with that because that's not anything that I was told, but I will check on that then. Okay, great, thank you.
Also related to Stelton School,
Yes.
because I was on the education committee, and it was the first month when we went through Zoom. I explained to the Board of Education that the county officials that I reached out to explain what we can or cannot do there, the timeline itself would take more than a couple of years.
Right, but if we started on this
Correct, but it
a
wasn't
long
just
time ago, then we would be a couple of years now.
Yeah, just to get the ball rolling. But the other thing was we can't. I just relayed the information because I was asked to get it.
Sure.
Because it's on the Rossi, we can't expand outside its footprint.
Okay.
So you can't knock that down and say, let's expand the school altogether. To be honest, I mean, this is just my opinion. We talk about Stelton School a lot. We
Right.
can agree to disagree.
Sure.
I don't think the best use of that facility is a school. I mean, it can't fit more than a couple hundred people. But
That's fine. I'm not going to argue the fact. What I'm going to argue is that I hear that a lot about, we don't have land in school for schools. We don't have this for schools. We don't. So my issue is, and I actually said this the other night at the ETA night, is that, you know, it's been told to me, or it's been conveyed to me that, okay, the Board of Education gets the most money from taxes. Okay, yeah, we know that. Thing is that all that money doesn't mean that it's going to solve the overcrowding issue they have. They can have $100 million. If we don't have land, if we don't have locations, if we don't have any of that, the money means absolutely nothing. So what I don't get is, and I understand the money thing, but what I really would like to see is the planning board, zoning board, council, Board of Education, look at the overcrowding as a community problem instead of splitting it, okay? Yes, the Board of Education is autonomous to the council. I understand all that. But the different boards can have an impact on that issue. So there's certain issues, I think, that we need to come together as a town and look at solving. Because in this issue, you have 17,000 kids that we're educating, which is important to a town for the kids, for taxpayers, the value of our houses, for so many things. I think the division in this topic just needs to stop. I think we need to somehow come together. I don't know who they are, but typically I know there's liaisons to the Board of Education. And you know, last year it took, you know, 2 or 3 emails to get answers from some of the council on why they weren't meeting. And I hope that's not an issue this year. But again, you know, it's something that needs to be solved, not by just the Board of Education. It needs to be solved by everybody. Everybody should have input into it. Now, if I hear that, well, the Board of Education doesn't want any input from the council or the other zoning boards, well, that's something that I would address with the Board of Education. But again, if it's a community problem, COVID's a community problem. Everybody is working on COVID. Overcrowding is a community problem. Everybody is affected by it, even those taxpayers that don't have kids in the school district right now. Those kids are our future leaders. They're going to be making decisions on us as we get older. So it is a community issue that I think we need to come together somehow to solve this, because it's been going on for so long right now, and there's no answer. There's no solution. So this is going to go on for 20 years more, and everybody's going to say, well, it's not my job. No, it's not my job. It's not my job. So we need to figure out a way to say, no, it's our job to fix this overcrowding issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, you called me before Tony D and Coyle started talking. Yeah, you called me before.
I called Tony D.
Yes, ma'am. You called me before.
I called him.
Before Tony D, you called on me and Coyle started talking.
Go ahead, come on then. No, you can come, it's fine.
This way I can get my rebuttal in, because if I'm last, I won't be able to get a rebuttal.
All right,
That's why, you understand. And plus,
Yes.
I was called before.
Okay.
Excuse me? Excuse me? I wasn't recognized yet. Don't start my time.
Yeah, sir, just let him speak, please. Thank you.
Thank you. If it was me, I would have right away. All right.
Sir, if you have something to say, please share it with us. Thank you.
Crystal, Middlesex County. I can't believe the politicking I just heard before Tony. I can't believe the politicking I just heard. The attacks are okay on residents or candidates as long as it's not certain people's inner circles, as long as certain people's inner circles aren't getting attacked. And that's just the fact of the matter. For example, people were threatening to kill me all over the internet because Councilman Kyle Anderson of Woodbridge, the Middlesex County Superintendent of Schools, said a lie that I called him an N-word, even though I never said that N-word. I have the whole thing recorded. Did you say anything about that? Did anyone? I didn't ask anybody to, but I don't understand. And I know there's secret code words that, going on, because did anyone say anything when we're attacking Mohan over a stupid Santa Claus thing? No one says nothing about that. We cheer it on. It's okay. It's been okay for weeks now. You understand? When people start defending themselves or defending their character, we can't do that anymore. This has got to stop. Once I'm recognized, please don't interrupt me. I just want to say Rosenfeld versus New Jersey. You can curse during a public meeting. When I came into this public meeting, I was told to back away from over there, which I didn't have to, but I did. I gave 6 feet. I was asked to back away again. I gave another 6 feet. But then the moment other residents go not even 2 feet away from Gomez, the same people that were complaining about it, all of a sudden their complaints disappeared. The complaints only come when I come into the picture. You understand that? So this way, Sam Joshi, I'm talking about Sam Joshi in Northgrave right now. They should have also told the other person to back away. They wanted me to actually stand back here. You can't do that. That's not the law. About the November 5th meeting, you said that's about the flyers, the racist flyers. How can that be the last meeting when Councilman Patil promised to testify? He still hasn't testified. Will he testify on November 5th? Because he said
I never said that was the last meeting.
Never said it was the last meeting? All right. Do you know which agency is investigating the fingerprints on the racist flyer, Council President?
No, I don't.
You never asked Council Vice President that question? Would you like to ask him right now on the record which agency is investigating the racist flyers? The reason, please don't interrupt me once I'm recognized.
Well, you're asking questions.
Well, to the person, if she doesn't want to answer, she doesn't have to answer.
She doesn't have to answer, exactly.
I know that.
Please go on.
She can stay silent and I can move on. I don't understand why none of you up there are asking him right now which agency is investigating. Gomez and Joshi said an agency is investigating it. If no agency is investigating it and you can't provide us proof, you have to tell us right now who are the names of the fingerprints. He told us it's over 1 year that you said you're going to give us. You actually told us on December 11 you were going to give us still nothing. Now, with the racist flyers, everything going on with that, Council Vice President, every time other people come up here and ask questions, you respond back to them. During a virtual meeting, when it was my time for my questions to be spoken with Joyce, that's why you guys are looking at each other. You said, don't even read his out. The funny thing is she read the third one out because it praised her, but she didn't want to read the second out. No one, you said that you were going to read it out the next time. It was never read out. That right there, it's censorship. You can't do that. You can't pick and choose who's gonna speak, who you're gonna allow to speak. I don't understand any of that. Would any of you like to denounce right now Councilman Kyle Anderson, the Middlesex County Superintendent, for putting an Edison resident's life at risk? I have the screenshots. He has postings promoting killing the police, off with the pigs. Would any council member right now like to denounce that type of radical rhetoric? Anybody? Well, I like how we can't denounce real things, but we can denounce when people's inner circles are being attacked, disguise it behind, oh, you know, we have to have cordial elections and whatnot. I mean, you saw the attitude when I came up here. If I would have gave any other resident when they came up here an attitude or whatever, it would have been a big deal. Oh, Christo's acting up again, whatever. This has to stop. You have to hold everyone accountable to the same stuff. Like I said before, why are you going to tell me to back away from over there and you're not going to tell someone else? Everyone has to be treated equally. If you're going to enforce something, enforce it on everybody. If not, then it becomes discrimination. That's the definition of discrimination. So I still didn't file my tort claims yet. I'm going to file a few tort claims against you, Councilman Sam Joshi. Don't know if you got less than a year left. If you got over a year left, I'm going to start to recall you. I'm going to go meet Marlene up at the office over there. I'm going to hand in my 3 signatures needed to recall you. If you have less than a year, you lucked out, but it's okay. There's other council members I'll hold accountable. Joyce, Coyle, Brescher. After November, I'll be able to recall them if I felt like it. I just don't want. I want to recall you. Who else? Oh, and AJ Patil. Because hey, AJ, would you like to testify? He was saved by the clock. And I might want to rebuttal after he speaks. So remember that.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jerry Shine, 18 Winthrop Road, Edison. I just want to bring up a point about you guys as the council overseeing the planning board about the Silver Lake project. There is, in my personal opinion, there is a lot of infrastructure questions from coming off of Meadow Road to get to the warehouse. And everybody knows on this board that 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, there's going to be a tractor trailer going down Silver Lake Avenue because they don't, first of all, they don't have GPS to get around the Meadow Road. I was just wondering, as a council, will you guys be working with the planning board to get these issues solved? Because I don't know if, I know all of you guys have gone down Silver Lake Avenue. The road is narrow compared to Winthrop Road, compared to Vineyard Road. And as a fact, you guys know that there's going to be trucks going down that road, hitting cars, destroying people's properties, because that road, the front lawns are like 25 feet. I was just wondering if I could get an answer from you guys. Are you guys going to oversee the issues with the residents? Because the residents are very upset. And believe me, I've been down there quite a few times answering questions. And as elected officials, I want you guys to relate to the residents what's going on. And let's get this problem solved because it's going to be a total nightmare. I know DOT is going to sit back and wait for you guys to make the decisions. And, you know, make a left from Woodbridge Avenue onto Silver Lake or coming from Highland Park. It's a disaster. You guys, as elected officials, you guys have to do what you guys got to do, but the residents are not happy. All right, have a great night. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Council President, if I could just comment on that. I appreciate you coming, and I appreciate the other residents in that whole area coming out. I know that they've spoken before at previous meetings. Like I said, in my opinion, to be abundantly clear, I think it's a terrible project. I don't think it belongs there. I think it's actually part of a bigger problem that we have, which is why I want to respond. It's important for residents to understand the difference between the zoning board, planning board, council members, because these are the type of things, these are little things that can get away from us, and then we end up having a big problem like this, right? Like we have a potentially catastrophic, disastrous warehouse that comes in. But one thing that we really do need to look into immediately is redoing the entire master plan. So the master plan, there's 30,000 parcels of land, 30,000 in Edison. And out of that, it's very difficult to designate which areas should be designated for what purpose, or every single one, and have it right correctly 100% of the time. But it doesn't change the fact that our master plan has not been looked at properly in nearly 2 decades. That's part of the reason why we're in this situation right now. So as far as, I mean, you're seeking, the opinion of the council, that's certainly, any resident can come here. But I encourage all the residents in that whole area to go to the planning board where it matters the most and voice your opinion. That is what it really does just come down to. We don't have the ability to lobby. I was on the zoning board before. I know that we're not allowed to, ask questions to the council on the zoning board. We're also not, as council members, we're not allowed to give our opinions. It's completely separate entities. That's just the way the law is written. Otherwise, there's bias. And let's just say it were to fail, the developer can come back and then sue. And that's something obviously that no residents want. So, I'm glad you all came out, but make sure you show up at the planning board when it matters the most.
Thank you.
Council President,
Yes.
I have a question, because we talk about the master plan, and we do recognize that there's issues with it, but I'd like to ask our counselor, typically when we're going to redo our master plan now, we hire a firm, and the firm's going to come in, and that firm doesn't know, let's say, like the areas like Silver Lake. I myself don't know that specific area and what exactly they're going through. I mean, I do now because we have this issue, but I'm sure that we have 100 other neighborhoods just like it, and I'm not familiar with what their issues are in those areas. So we hire a company to do the master plan without input from the citizens. Do we end up with the same master plan?
No, I mean, basically the way I've seen it happen, Councilman, is generally a planner will first take a look at what exists and take a look at some obvious problems. You have a 50-acre parcel of property at the end of a long residential street. That kind of is almost self-evident as that's going to be a problem, especially if it's zoned for industrial warehouse use. That's inviting, because somebody's going to want to build there. But then after they have that, what I'll call a baseline set up, then they would meet with stakeholders. Start with the administration, with the council, members of the planning board, environmental commission, business leaders, people. There's people who come to these meetings with good ideas that they share with the council, and there would probably be a charrette or two at the council meeting, like we do with some of the redevelopment plans. The planner came and just talked about it to the entire, whoever wanted to show up in the community. So that's generally the process that would happen. So it wouldn't be just they would go out, give you a plan and say, here it is. And then ultimately you'll be adopting that plan. So as you go through it and you say, even if we go through everything I just described, and then you see that there still was an issue that was missed, there's still the opportunity to look at that, address it, and make, the appropriate changes.
Yeah, I guess that's where my concern is that the master plan was done, anyone want to pick a date? Last time?
I think it was 2004. 2011.
So in 2011, the master plan was adopted, right? And we had people look at it, we had professionals look at it, and everybody looked at it, and everybody thought it was perfect. And yet we have this issue before us today. So that's where I'm going with it is like from what I see is that without the residents' input for all the different areas, we could possibly go down the same road just in someone else's neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I wasn't here, 10 years ago. And I think most of us weren't here 10 years ago. I don't know if there was charrettes at the time. I don't know who did the master plan. I mean, the idea would be, okay, there appears to be some shortcomings. Let's hopefully we'll avoid them, when you do the next one.
Hopefully, Councilman Brescher, when engaging the person that's going to do it, that will be talked about before they're able to do the whole thing. They'll have to know that we have input from our neighborhoods in order for them to collaborate and for them to move forward. Like, that's what we're going to be looking for.
Right.
That's what we're going to tell them specifically what we want.
Right. I'm looking for the neighborhoods to kind of come through to tell us, because I don't know the concerns of every individual neighborhood that we have in the town. Like, I know my neighborhood, you know what I mean? And I have friends in certain other neighborhoods, so I know what their concerns are. But in every neighborhood, no, it's,
No,
each one
too
is
many
unique.
neighborhoods.
Question
All
two.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Question. All right.
Yes, yeah.
Hi, Ron Loeffler, 6 Nancy Circle. First, I'd like to know how everybody saw a copy of what I was going to talk about, because thank you very much for speaking about the master plan. And one of my concerns is, well, excuse me. One of my concerns is, how do you get into these neighborhoods and how do you know what the specific issues are? And there needs to be a stopgap measure between now and whenever the master plan is written or rewritten to minimize any unforeseen issues. For instance, how do we know that there's not a 50-acre tract somewhere else that this can happen to in a different neighborhood? So what we need to try to do, or what I'm asking everybody here to do, is in order to prevent this from happening in the short term or in the longer term, and to adopt new zoning policies where densities can be reduced. Right now, for instance, zoning allows 3 stories in an LI zone. And where it abuts a residential, they should minimize that to 1.5 stories. So if something wants to go into a location, it can't be 45 feet high, it can only be 22 feet high. So that'll minimize the impact on the residential neighborhood. Also, setbacks. Presently, they're 50 feet across from residential. There are some zones that require 200 feet. Again, minimize the impact between now and when the master plan is written. If we start now, by the time the master plan's written, we have other laws in place, and we can try to, mitigate any damage going forward until the master plan is adopted in 2021 or 2022, whenever that may be. So I just hope, or I want to see if anybody is in favor of trying to mitigate, going forward until, a stopgap measure, so this doesn't happen in anybody behind me's neighborhood, between now and then, I guess. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm sure everybody on this council has an interest in seeing where the vulnerable parts of this community is. When we take over property for Green Acres, I know that Walter Stolschel and Robert Tackis do a good job on that, and so does Councilman Bob Deal, who take a large part in looking at what areas to adopt and get county money. In fact, I think Charlie Tamaro, our freeholder, just got us money for another property. Why couldn't we have gotten money for this property The questions I hear is it was contaminated and it was a challenge at that time, whether we want to take on the liability of a chemical property. I mean, if I had a choice today, knowing it's clean, of course, I think this council would want that property adopted for Green Acres. But it's a great question. I'm certain everyone on this council has an interest in trying to find, it's just discovering these little pocket properties that are abutting residential, whether they're off Whitman, off Silver Lake, hiding behind, off Oak Tree Road, and having that opportunity to expand. So I absolutely agree. And perhaps through the council president, you could volunteer and join that committee.
Thank you.
Definitely. Maria?
Hi, thank you. Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. Previously, I was working on the master plan. We had the big maps, and many community people came together, and the maps were spread out. So we were looking at different neighborhoods and what could be improved and what kind of neighborhood was more residential and which one has more businesses. I wasn't privy to the 2011 update, but I'd be interested in the 2021. Edison now says that Halloween trick-or-treating is on, or just wondering what the hours
It's on
would
right
be.
now unless our governor says something different. But I, told the people to have precautions, put it in a plastic bag, don't have everybody digging their hand in some bowl or
common
whatever,
bowl.
you know.
What are the hours that the trick-or-treaters can be out? Was one of the questions or the concerns.
That's a good question.
On Saturday,
I'll
yeah.
see about that.
All right, okay. And thank you for beautiful Amboy Avenue with all the flowers. It brings a lovely presence and a sparkle. Any update on the traffic study for Boulevard of Eagles? I know.
At the present time.
Okay. And just to remind everybody, school may be opening, so just drive safely, please. Thank you. October 19th for a partial opening, hybrid in certain schools. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth Conway.
That's okay. Elizabeth Conway, 20 Netherwood Circle. I would just like to thank the council for Resolution 569, which will affect the train tracks that blow their horns almost every hour. And each time they blow their horns, it's 4. So at 3:30 in the morning, I lay there in bed going 1, 2, 3, 4 until the next time. It's been brutal, and we had been told when they did that renovation years ago that because of all the work that they did, that was going to be a quiet crossing. Well, it was for quite a while, but I don't know what happened that it started again, I want to say a few weeks ago, and it's rather disturbing that I'm not even that close to, I have to be at least a half a mile to a mile away, and it's still very disturbing trying to get a good night's sleep. So I applaud the council. I just didn't understand why you guys have to take care of their mess. But I don't really care who takes care of it as long as it's taken care of. And the only thing else I'd like to say is, Joyce, I've said what you've said a million times over my 38 years living in Edison, New Jersey, that where we live is Edison, New Jersey, and I don't think the North End or the South End has ever decided to break away from the other part of town. And many times, even with the Board of Education, they'll say, well, the South End is different than the North End. And I go to school in South Edison, and right away I'll say, well, where is that? I live in regular Edison. So it's sad that this has been a thing since even before I started living here, that there was always people depicting it as different. But I applaud you for saying that, and it really should be the way it is. And I'm glad you're back, and we move forward and stay safe. And if anybody finds a 50-acre plot of land, I know what you could do with it. It won't be a warehouse. Thank you.
Elizabeth, one thing I want you to know, I get the horn toot every morning. I live by tracks. I get it at 6 o'clock every morning, and the train goes past. I would have to beat the train in order to get to school on time. So I mean, you know, it's not just down there. It's other areas in Edison that has train travel, but not as much as you.
I don't think I'd mind if it was just once. And do you count one through four?
No, one time is enough.
Yeah. So it's a real problem, and I just don't understand why it happened, and I don't really care why it happened. But
Yes.
do you have any idea of how it's going to be fixed? Or
We're
is it
working on
just-
that now. As they stated before, they're working on that now. They going out in bids and stuff to get that information. They get that taken care of.
And who has to pay for this?
I guess.
Why, did you make the mess?
When the township made the quiet zone, they made an arrangement with Conrail that we would maintain it.
But what happened to it?
It's,
They're blowing the horns.
yeah, it just got damaged. It's mostly due to motor vehicle accidents, but they're looking into a more permanent remedy to upgrade it. Maybe, I don't know what the technologies are.
Now, is that why in the last number of months, it's shut down and
That's what's
it's been
happening.
closed
It's
for a
actually
number of
cars.
times?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, then that, that works up to it. I appreciate that. Thank you.
When the horn starts blowing, that means there's something wrong with the quiet zone. So it's either something is in the track area or something's damaged. In this case, we were told from Conrail that something's damaged in that area, and that's what has to be fixed.
Now, is this, oh, sorry, is this specifically the crossing on Inman Avenue versus the crossing on Tingley?
There were two. There was one on each one. I
Oh, okay.
believe they were able to fix the one on Tingley, and the
That was
crossing
easy.
on Inman needs fixing. I believe that's what it is.
Thank you.
And they should be out there within the next couple days. It was just approved tonight, so we're good to take care of it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Council President,
Yes.
I love hearing the One Edison opportunity, but I'll have to disagree. There is a South Edison, and it's in neglect. And when it starts to look like North Edison, I'll agree we're One Edison. There's no question that the code enforcement in the south end and the amount of issues going on in the south end, it's horrendous. So that's why there is a separation there. And when we start treating it as One Edison, I'll feel much better and I can support Ms. Conway, but it's crystal clear when you drive down Woodbridge Avenue, the difference between what it looks like as you hit Highland Park. It's crystal clear what it looks like when you drive down Route 1 and past Menlo Park Mall. It's crystal clear when you drive down 27, what it looks like. And when you drive up Grove Avenue, it's crystal clear the difference of when you cross over 27, what's it look like. Oak Tree Road, New Dover Road, Tingley Lane. It's, and I'm only hoping the future of our code enforcement and the future of more manpower and issues and less favoritism, there'll be a big difference. But I won't agree that there's not a South Edison.
All
There
right. Well,
is. It's clear.
not to contradict you, Councilman Coyle, but I'm guarantee you that there are people on both sides of town that, like I said before, they have selective code enforcement, no matter what side of town you live on. I am on Main Street, and it looks terrible in my neighborhood, terrible. All kind of bins, all kind of garbage, so, hey, and I'm dead center, all right? So, Crystal, you put your hand up first, then Deamarin, and then Sweeney.
Crystal, Middlesex County. Do we have any Board of Education members being investigated right now?
I'm not part of the Board of Ed.
No, do we have a liaison to the Board of Education up here?
What's that in response to, sir?
there's rumors going around. I mean.
Now, what are you rebutting? You're up on rebuttal,
there's
sir. What are you rebutting?
Huh?
What are you rebutting? You're up on rebuttal.
Okay, I'm gonna rebut Silver Lake and South Edison.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, you know, people in South Edison have been getting treated differently for a long time now. I grew up over where I grew up my whole life, and where I live, yeah, they used to harass you and your rights got violated all the time. There's a big difference from how they respect people's rights on the north side and how they come down to the south side and trample on us. They look at the people on the north side with money, that they'll be able to get a lawyer like that, and they say, hey, look at these bums down here, let them get a public defender. Normally they just plea out the case. That's the difference between the south side and the north side. Councilman Joshi has also referenced before, the north will rise again. What were you referencing, Councilman, about that? That sounds, it's a little bit, what did you mean when you said the north will rise again? Were you showing favoritism over North Edison over the South Edison? No comment? You always have no, it's a simple question. You don't want to just say it's a Game of Thrones reference. You want to just completely, it's all right, that's how you are. That's why you're never going to get elected again, Joshi, because you can say all these BS things all the time, but at the end of the day, you can't just ignore members of the public, selectively choose who you're going to answer to, who you're not going to answer to. I mean, yes, Northgrave, you're right. He can choose to stay silent. That's absolutely truth. But he let his intentions known during the call, and when he said, oh, Christo, don't even read out his questions without even knowing what the questions were. How can you do that? How can you not read out somebody's questions without knowing what the questions were? And then we had somebody say, oh, I don't read out the questions until it gets up here on my desk. No, that's a lie, because even before that, we referenced one. How can you reference one of the emails if you don't read it up until very last minute? Yet the timelines didn't even, again, Gomez, you told me, Sam, I have it on video, you told me Sam Khan was never on the planning board. I have a screenshot of him, the years he was on the planning board. Is there a reason why when people come up here and ask questions to the government, I mean, I can understand being silent and not answering them, but is there a reason why we go so far as to be specious, sometimes even borderline just straight up lying on it? I'm sure we all knew Sam Khan was on the planning board then. No, we had a room filled with a bunch of people, so we had to deny at that moment, make ourselves look better.
Next.
You may want to disinfect as well.
Anthony Diaron, 15 Rodak. I don't know who to address this to, but where the dog park is, there's
Mr. Diaron, I'm going to get criticized for not being consistent. So if this isn't a rebuttal, sir, we can't allow it. I don't remember a dog park discussion coming up tonight.
Yeah, there's a group of homeless people that are living behind.
But
yeah, it's not a rebuttal, no.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, sir. I just want to be consistent. I'm criticized for not being consistent. So unfortunately, I have to be consistent.
God bless you. God bless you, Northgrave.
Sweeney.
Age is a terrible thing.
Better than the alternative.
Yeah, right. I just want to rebuttal the council president. When it comes to the DPW, they don't do a good job. They do an excellent job.
Okay.
With the cleanup we just had, I'm in District 10, excellent. Spring cleanup, excellent. Recyclable, excellent. Garbage, excellent. Grass catching, excellent. They do an excellent job. They don't get enough credit, DPW, but that's my rebuttal. You're 100% right. They're excellent.
And I received.
Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you.
And see you the next meeting.
Yeah.
But I've been coming to these meetings before Joe, before Brescia, before him, before him, before him, before him. Maybe not you. I'm not sure. Not before. Yeah, I was even here before Deal. But everybody have a good evening. Stay safe.
I received a couple of emails from people applauding our Edison Police Department. and one person was so distraught and her car was taken, and Edison police got it back to her the next day. So she's employed, and so I would like to, give kudos to Edison Police Department, and I see that we're moving in the right direction at all. So public safety does make a difference. So, thank you very much. If that be all, can I
Motion
get
to
a
adjourn the public portion?
Second.
motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.